From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey, everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In this podcast, I sit down with my monthly co-host, Mr. Ryan Waterbury, and we're going to talk about WordPress.com versus WordPress.org and the entire Twitter storm that happened this past week. This is one conversation, if you care about WordPress in the community, you really don't want to miss. So grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Ryan and I had. This podcast is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency that can help protect your WordPress website today. Go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and see what we can do to help you protect your business investment. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. By Rob Cairns here. And today I've got my good friend and monthly co-host Ryan Waterbury with me. And I think we're going to have some fun because this week has been a little bit of a shitstorm. Can I say that? Yeah, it's my podcast. I can say what I want. How are you, Ryan?
I'm doing good today. It's Friday afternoon. It's hunting opener tomorrow. It's cool and rainy. And I'm ready to do this podcast.
Oh, so am I. And, you know, it's funny. We were thinking about holding it off till Monday, and I thought, we just need to get this one done. So I need to start this podcast off with something I never do, and that's called a disclaimer, and saying the opinions in this podcast are Ryan's and my personal opinions, and they don't reflect anybody else. They don't reflect any of our clients. They don't reflect any of our friends. They're just us talking as two people highly involved in the WordPress community. And those who don't know, I also co-manage a large LinkedIn group of over 10,000 people. And they certainly don't reflect Courtney Robertson's opinion, who manages that group with me. So now that we got all the legalese out of the way, what a friggin' week this has been. It has been a week where there's been X, formerly Twitter storms all over the place. It started off with our beloved and dictator, as he self-proclaims himself, Matt Mullenweg, talking about plugins and why .com plugins were ranking higher on search than .org plugins, and it's just exploded into the beloved and dictator called Matt Mullenweg taking shots at who's who in the community and causing all kinds of shit. What a week, Ryan.
It's been entertaining to watch as a bystander. I have very strong opinions about this, and I've had them and I voiced them occasionally. I was pretty light this week, just stepping back and watching as a CEO of a major company was taking shots at people that have grown the open source WordPress project, developed it, grown it into other platforms and uses. And it was really disheartening to see that. And, I'm imagining where the place that it's coming from, but that it was pretty ugly. And Twitter was, it was a shit show this week. There's no other way to put it. Seeing long-term developers that have hundreds of thousands of installs and, putting their free plugins on the repo, getting called out for petty things by Automatic CEO was not a very good look for the WordPress community, and not a good look for anyone in general.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the .com.org thing, it's always been out there. It confuses people. And, as users of the open source.org software, we understand which is which and what's going on. But people from the outside, one, they usually don't care about these things, or two, they don't know about them.
Yep.
But yeah, it's starting to become a problem. I mean,
Yeah.
it has been a problem for a while, for years.
And it's still going on today. And not only did he take aim at plugin developers, he took aim at major companies that several of them just sponsored parts of WordCamp US. Like, what other CEO has a lack of brains, in my opinion, and you're going to hear a lot of that today, to take aims at the sponsors that are giving you money? GoDaddy, WP Engine, Bluehost, like them or not, put major money into this community every year, SiteGround as well. And he took aim at them in a tweet I read and basically called them all out. Who does that? The sponsors should be telling Mullenweg to shove it up his you-know-where and be done with it. And that's where I kind of sit a little bit. I mean, they should be adamantly angry today.
I can imagine there's going to be very little sponsorship from these major contributors who really do fund the large WordCamps. WordCamp USA is going to, I have a feeling it's going to be tough to pull off without major sponsorship from these individuals. I mean, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars that they contribute to keep the cost down for users like us to attend and connect with other developers and have a good time learning and sharing about WordPress. And that's disappointing that a single person that is extremely influential has, I'm going to say, possibly ruined that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I wanted to say that publicly, I stayed out of this dumpster fire until last night. We had talked about doing this podcast down the road, so we were going to do it anyway. This is no shock. You and I have talked about this offline. And then I posted 2 tweets, and they both gotten quite a bit of traction. One was, we need to split up the .com and the .org side, and we'll get to there. And the other one was, and I stand behind this outright, I outright called Matt Mullenweg, in my personal opinion. Again, you're going to hear a lot of that today. Sorry, guys. I think he's a bully. He acted like a bully. He's got bullying mentality. If you talk to all the mental health experts, he shows bullying tendencies. I'm sorry. And I think he needs to get, in my opinion, some mental health help, because the way he acted yesterday is not how a CEO of $1 million company should act, frankly. And he turned around and he said, he blocked people and then unblocked him to see what he was saying, then blocked him again, and he's taking aim at all these people. Who in their right mind shoots their business model down the river like this?
And some of the people that he blocked were core contributors to the .org project. And if you have core contributors that are marketing leads, development leads that you're blocking, and honestly, that's kind of like giving the finger and telling them your services aren't welcome. WordPress.org is an open source project, and it thrives and needs people willing to donate their time for development. Mm-hmm. There are companies like Automatic that contribute a lot of money to pay for development to be done on the open source project. And that's fantastic. They're not the only company that pays their developers to work on improving it, because let's face it, it's a thankless job. And if you want to compete with some of the commercial systems out there, you got to have some money behind it. And we all use it, we all benefit from it. But just because you are the largest contributor to the open source project doesn't give you the right to criticize other people that are doing fantastic development. The shots taken at the um, PMP, Paid Membership Pro developers,
Yep.
when they were talking about the ranking of .com should not have a separate directory of plugins. It should be pulling from the same. It's literally a duplicate of the .org directory. One, that's in poor taste and just a slap in the face to the .org project, saying that you only exist to support .com.
Yep.
Two, seeing fantastic developers like John Blackburn, who has awesome development tools out there in the wild for free for us to use, calling out and then having Matt take shots at. That's not a good look. And if I were on the other side of that, I would think twice about continuing to develop for the platform.
Yep.
That's really scary and makes me worried for the future of the platform.
And what I'll tell you is Matt's almost been on the libel side where he's accused several plugin developers, and this is on Twitter, so, unless it disappears, of fabricating their reviews without proof, fabricating their numbers, and nobody knows the true numbers of plugin downloads anymore unless you're tracking them yourself. The .com side, sorry, on the .org side, here I go now. They've changed the way they report plugin downloads, so that's part of the problem. There's no
right. What it was active installs.
Yes.
And the really bad look for the Gutenberg project, disable Gutenberg and classic editor installs were the number 1 and 2 plugin installs with millions of installs for a long time. And you look at that, and I know that was pointed out prior to this. I have to say that, from a PR standpoint, that doesn't look good for your pet project, the block editor, when you have people just turning it off. And, for developers to get an actual idea of how their plugins are used, downloads is one thing. It's fine. People can, turn it off. But active installs shows you who's actually running the plugin on your site. That's a real, true, valuable piece of information. And the refusal from the core team, which is largely driven by the biggest developer on the team, Automatic, to put that stat back in is a little disheartening. You have a huge community that said, hey, we need this. And we're an open source, user-friendly community, and to tell the community, no, we're not going to do it because it's damaging to your project, your pet project. That's just really in bad taste and just in bad form, and not supportive of the community that helps grow your software and project.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's not just that. It's just all these comments. Like, what people don't understand, those people who are in the business world, is a lot of these contributors aren't paid unless they work for a major company like GoDaddy or WP Engine. Yeah, there's developer advocates. I have friends there. I mean, Courtney Robertson's up at GoDaddy, and Marcus Burnett, who all of us in the community know quite well, and Adam Warner. They're all paid, and I'm not criticizing them. So guys, don't think I am. And my friend Brian Gardner over at WP Engine, and the other people over at Bluehost, these are paid contributors. But what people don't realize is most of the WordPress project, most of the team leads, a lot of that is unpaid people, consultants, freelancers, and stuff like that. And they're contributing to a product that's making Mr. Beloved and Dictator, as I will keep calling him in this episode, he's making over $1 million with his company a year and then some from unpaid people. And for a long time, there's been discussion that certain leads should be paid. There's been discussion that speakers at core WordCamps, the big ones, Asia, Europe, US, should be paid. I'm almost in that frame of mind right now, and I think it's time we start doing something about it.
Oh, I agree. We should pay speakers at those events. And, It's not just covering their travel expenses, but paying them for their time. They're experts in the field, and it's a benefit to everyone in attendance. And they pay for a ticket. It's not a lot because we have sponsors, but that's where the sponsorship dollars come in to cover the fees of speakers, the event venue, and to subsidize some of that cost. So it's affordable for small independent WordPress shops. I remember this was late 20 teens. I think, I was reading a study about the average WordPress development shop making around $65,000 a year as a solo developer. And that's not a lot of money. And even then, it wasn't a ton of money. It was okay. And, you look at that, and on a single individual, that's one thing. But there's a lot of people that are sole individual developers. And to have someone, from the top who's on the CEO.com and the chairperson at .org start dictating how, the software is going to move forward and, shake the livelihood of these small independent developers who don't have a team of 5 to 7 React developers to do custom dev. That's really, I think it's, awful. And so here's where I'm going to use myself as an example. With nonprofit work, I sat on a board with a national organization that does a lot of good work, and they needed some web and marketing work. I resigned from the board to avoid any conflict of interest, and I submit a bid after discovery, and I told them, please take my discovery and go get competing bids. Eventually, they went with mine, but I gave them that opportunity to be transparent and independent of everything, for the fact that it's a nonprofit organization that's out there to benefit people. And that's the right thing to do. When you start looking at monetary compensation, you need to disassociate yourself from any nonprofit activities. And here's where I'm going to lead in with, we need the .com and .org leadership to be separate. And I think this is where we start to look at, how do we change the structure there, and look at .org leading the community with contributions from not only WordPress.com, but the other community members as a whole. That's just the right thing to do, and good practice that everyone else in the nonprofit and open source space does.
No, I agree with you. I think I was sharing this with you offline, but it's worth telling the story. I worked for a psychotherapist, and he hired me to do some work on his commercial side of his business. He also had a nonprofit or charitable organization. And my contract actually said I was doing work for the paid side of the business. And he asked me one day to do some work on the website for the nonprofit. And I actually outright refused. And he said, how can you? I'm paying you. I said, actually, my contract says I'm working for the profitable side of the business. I do not want to be in a conflict of interest. The answer is no. And he argued with me adamantly, and I stuck to my guns and I refused, and I never did the work for the charitable side because that's not who was paying me, and that's not what the contract said. And at the end of the day, I believe in ethics more than most people. And this is why we got some gray areas, is our beloved dictator. Yes, you're hearing that word a lot today, but that's my podcast and my life. He needs to step away. I mean, the person that's quite capable of running the WordPress.org side, as far as I'm concerned, is Giuseppa, by far. She could run it, but her boss, the beloved dictator, needs to get out of the road. And he needs to, and we need to set up a separate board of directors for the .org that's at arm's length from the .com side and just split the two down the middle. And it's time.
It's been more than time. And, I can put my finger on the exact moment when it was clear that .org was going to be supporting .com's initiatives. And, it was the end of, what was it, the 2015 State of the Word, Learn JavaScript or Learn React Deeply.
Yep.
And after that, and don't get me wrong, the core editor needed a major overhaul, but
Yep.
it turned into .org is going to build a page builder for a company to compete against Beaver Builder, Elementor, because .com needed a tool to become more like Wix and chase after that market. And, I see WordPress moving in that direction where it's beneficial for like a WordPress.com who wants Wix users to be able to do things easily on their site, their controlled platform. And it's moving away from a developer-friendly platform.
Yep.
And that's largely how the community has grown, and is its flexibility and independent ability to morph into a platform for any type of situation. Now, a lot of companies have gotten on board and started doing block things, and I think that's great. But you said a best benevolent dictator. Look what I've given you, use it or else. I just feel that you have to develop in this very tight constraint, which starts to take away from the flexibility of WordPress.
I agree with you. And that said, you and I are in different camps. We need to tell the viewers and the listeners that you're a Beaver Builder guy. I made a move, I guess it's 2 years this month, where I started making my move away from Beaver Builder, and I moved to Cadence, right? Cadence Themes, which is a block theme and a block editor. But I'm not out there bashing people are using page builders. Not at all. I think what we need to understand is blocks is just a built-in page builder, really. And we need not to take away from that flexibility, because choice and flexibility is what has always made our community thrive. So you will never hear me stand there, and I don't think you have, Ryan. I've never bashed a block user, a page builder user, have I? I don't think so. I've said I don't like that page builder. Like there's some old ones like WP Bakery that I don't like for technical reasons, and I've got sites using those. But I mean, the reality of it all is use what works for you. And what our dictator hasn't realized is, if you're a dev shop that's got years in the Beaver Builder or Elementor or any of those, the problem is to get your staff up to speed to switch the blocks is a major educational endeavor that a lot of dev shops don't have time for.
That's why I made the point earlier about the solo dev shop. I'm a PHP dev, and I still use jQuery because that's what I know. And I'm starting to come around on React. I understand, its usefulness and its place, but I also look at Vue.js, and the multitude of JavaScript libraries out there that all can work within WordPress. But as a sole dev shop, I keep looking at things, and I realize I said, this would be great to do with a more front end language. And I keep doing it with PHP because that's what I know, and that's the solution I can get to the fastest, and it solves my customer's problem quickly and efficiently. And so, I'm out here supporting dozens and dozens of sites that I built, that I've taken on for web care, doing custom development work. And for a solo person to go and be told, you need to learn a couple of new languages. I get it. The industry changes, and we all should be learning new things. But I also look at the complex sites that my peers that are, in the small dev shop, what they're building with, Elementor, take your page builder of choice, and doing a lot of dynamic data. To do that, I see other, shops doing it in the blocks realm, and they've got at least 2 or 3 React devs to handle that. where I see sole dev shops doing it, the old way like we did, and solving customer problems. And we're being told that that's not going to be, the way to go in the future. And it's unfortunate. But I think that we as community members should have a right and a voice in how the project moves forward. And it's been pretty clear since the block editor project started that we have zero voice.
Yep. I would agree with you. So I think we need to separate the two entities and get a board, and the board of .org should have some high profile community members on that. And I mean, that was one of the reasons why I sort of sat back and watched this dumpster fire on X, formerly Twitter, for a couple of days before I commented, because I know between being a podcast host and running a large LinkedIn group, the minute I jumped into that mess, I better have my ducks in a row. So that was kind of part of the big reason why I took my time jumping into this disaster, and I mean disaster.
Yeah, when it really turned into a disaster when the attacks were petty and personal.
Yep.
And a lot of people, and this is the you have to realize that there's a large, and this was just on Twitter, there's a large portion of the WordPress community that, from their political leanings, when Elon purchased it, took their ball and went home or to Mastodon. So we're seeing a sliver of how the community is being slighted on X/Twitter. And the fact that we're more of those community members, more active on X, I think we would have seen even more complaining and discussion and heated discussion. That there were some things that were said that I don't think can be walked back from, to be honest. And I think that's what sparked, my interest in this topic for this podcast, and that, we need to put the idea out there about the real division between the nonprofit open source and the for-profit.com, and make sure there's a clear understanding publicly that they are different things, and they should be very different things that should work together.
Mm-hmm. And I want to put this out there, and I kind of didn't talk to you before I did, but I'm going to stick my foot in my mouth and put it out there anyway. If Matt Moenwig or Giuseppe have the nerve to come on this podcast and sit down and talk to Ryan and I, we'll be glad to have you. We'll have that conversation with you. We promise we'll release it unedited, but let's see where you two stand. Do you even care about this community? I suspect the answer is going to be no, but I'll put it out there right now. Like, let's issue a challenge, because they can come out here, and do they really care about the community? Do they care about respected people? Do they care about what people do? There it is, Ryan.
Yeah, and I would welcome that. And words are one thing, and on a public platform, sitting behind a keyboard, but having a civil discussion in a podcast format, I think that would be good to move forward. And we're certainly talking from one side, and my personal side, being a community member and not an $8 billion company CEO. I'm completely the other side. So it would be, I would welcome that challenge, and just to see where it went. I can tell you that from what I see when they release new pieces of the core project, here's another personal opinion, that like the dashboard redesign, sometimes some of these things are clearly done without any consultation of the community. I see developers doing admin, tools to redesign the admin, and they have looked at, some of these things and said, wow, you didn't talk to anyone who's been doing this for years to get any input on what users actually want. There's a lot of data out there from community developers that's just being thrown out, with the core and the Gutenberg development team. And that's really unfortunate. User studies are an important thing for me. I found out the hard way, even after beta testing with a recent launch, people completely went around a process that I developed.
Yep.
So not involving the community in decisions is that's kind of where I put my foot down too.
I agree with you. So I think we've kind of hit this one on the head. Did you have anything else you wanted to add before we wrap this one up?
No, I think we've summed up, some of the community frustrations, some personal ones that I've had and may not have voiced publicly, but wanted to get them out there so other people can hear them. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't. But yeah, I don't have anything else to add.
Yeah. And if anybody else wants to add to it, like we can get them on the show too, please reach out. We'd be glad to have you. Ryan, I know this one's a tough one. We're both a little PO'd off to say the word today. That's, I'm trying to be nice here, but it's been a couple days. I don't think the weekend is going to do anything to shake this one off. I think some of the stuff that's been said has some long-lasting effects, and I think as a community, we just got to figure out how we're going to come out of this one, because I think it's a bit of a mess right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And Ryan, thanks for your time as always, and have yourself an amazing weekend. And your office staff must be quiet because I haven't heard one peep for a half hour.
They're getting ready for running through the woods tomorrow morning and being extremely tired by the end of the day.
Priorities. Have a good weekend, my friend. Appreciate your time as always.
You too.
This show is brought to you by StunningDigitalMarketing.com, your Toronto leader in digital marketing services. Not only do we protect your WordPress website, we can help you with your site, provide social media management for your business, or even do one-on-one consulting. To find out more, go to StunningDigitalMarketing.com. A very special thank you to Ryan Waterbury for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. Hey everybody, Rob here again. Thanks for listening to the SDM Show. It's such a pleasure to have you every week. If you want more on our agency website, go to StunningDigitalMarketing.com. We are your WordPress security experts. We'd be glad to help you out. If you want to learn more about me, Rob Cairns, go to meetrobcairns.online. From there, you can find links to everything I do on the web, as well as book time with me. So feel free. If you want to make comments about this podcast or know a guest possibly suitable for the podcast, please email us at podcast@stunningdigitalmarketing.com, or conversely, you can go to X, formerly known as Twitter, and tweet at me at Rob Cairns. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much, and I love you. Please join us next week for another interesting podcast, and have a great week, everybody. Bye for now.